Physics is a branch of science that deals with the physical world and its properties. The concepts of physics becomes more interesting when we relate it to the exciting world of sports, such as basketball and other sports as well. Do you think he's breaking any laws of physics? The professional basketball player seems to fly in the air and float momentarily while he slam dunks the ball into the net. This is not a violation of any physics law, but shows the usages of various forces by the player. He seems to float longer in air because of his body movements, such as extending his arm and moving forward all the time gives us the perception that he is going to fly or float forever. The hang time of the player seems to be longer simply because he is continuously moving forward fast. If we look at the replay in slow motion, we will discover that the player starts to fall the moment he stops moving upwards, in this case when he reaches his maximum height. While the basketball player is on the ground, he is subject to two forces, gravity pulling him down and the reaction force of the ground exerting on him. The moment he leaps upwards, his torso gains velocity, continuously creating an upward acceleration and net force. The moment the player jumps away from Earth, the normal contact force vanishes as he exerts no weight onto Earth, but the gravitational force remains and pulls on him. A good layup happens when a player does not take a shot, but uses the speed of his body to lift him near the net and then drops in the ball or slam it in. Layups are done because shooting a ball while moving forwards or from further distances are difficult. Layup is a technique used to score when the net is heavily guarded, so the scorer jumps while keeping the ball near his body and dropping it into the net. Since basketballs move at such low velocities, placing spin on the ball does not affect air resistance of the ball to any great extent. Rather, placing a spin on the ball increases the chances of the ball going into the net if it was to touch the rim of the net or the backboard. The backspin, after contact with the back rim or board, will result in a change in velocity opposite to the spin direction, changing an equal angle rebound into a velocity more toward the net. This makes it more likely that the ball will go in. Without spin, the ball would bounce off the backboard at almost the same angle at which it hit the backboard, because the ball's elastic surface would help to conserve most of its energy and friction would be very small. With spin, the ball loses a much greater amount of energy due to friction, for, as the surfaces come in contact, the spinning ball rubs up against the surface, causing an opposing frictional force. The loss of energy that is caused from this action causes the ball to rebound with a much smaller velocity, moving in a different direction, and, with the help of gravity, a much lower angle, creating a better chance for the shot to be successful. Passing is perhaps one of the most important components of basketball. A game would not be possible without the aid of teamwork and passing. The impact of a hard pass can be lessened if the reaction time or the deceleration is longer. This can be done by catching the ball with outstretched arms and pulling it slowly towards your chest. The exact forces, velocity, and accuracy of shots could not be deduced from observation alone. A professional basketball player manages to make many successful shots because of the kinesthetic memory. It can be explained simply as learning skills while doing a demonstration or reading. When a player practices a shot a few hundred times during training, Taking into account the various angles, direction, and speed of shots, the memory of it is stored in the brain. During a game, when the player wants to make a shot, and if the shot corresponds with the stored memory or skill stored in him, the shot will be made successfully. The more air pressure a basketball has inside it, the less its surface will bend or deform during a bounce, and the more its original energy will be stored in the compressed air inside. If the ball is underinflated, some of its energy is wasted in deforming the ball as it bounces, and the ball will not rebound very high. For the most elastic collision possible between the ball and the floor, you want a highly pressurized ball. The material you bounce the ball on is also very important. Think about how high it would bounce on a carpeted floor. A soft floor material will flex when the ball hits it, and this will steal some of the ball's energy. Clearly, the harder the surface, the better. Basketball courts have very hard floors so as to get a near-perfect bounce. Running and changing directions on the basketball court happens very fast because of the player's shoe traction and friction caused by the floor. Players' shoes must have good traction, which is the same as saying that the coefficient of friction between the shoe and the floor must be high. A basketball player will also make use of static friction. A foot firmly planted, rather than slipping across the floor, will provide more friction when he has to stop or turn suddenly.
What is the best angle to shoot from? Let's find out by trying to make jump shots from any angle possible. In this activity, you can make a good shoot if you stand at some point on the court and throw the ball up at just the right angle and at the right speed. The height of the stickman is 1.8 meters, which is the average height of Malaysian basketball players. To begin, choose appropriate values of distance from the basket, speed of the ball, and angle to shoot from. Click on the Start button to begin the simulation.
Although physics is not something we would readily think about or explore when considering sports such as basketball, it is obvious the game would not even exist without such knowledge. Concepts of physics can be applied to explain scientifically about any games or sports.